Good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations. You've passed the test, you've made it to the end and proved your commitment. So I think we're the hardy few that are left. I've been asked to sum up 2 days' worth, and that's an impossibility, so I'm not even going to try, but I do want to give you a few observations maybe on what we've heard over the last couple of days. What we've seen is a conference which has brought together leaders in the field, and even people who wouldn't distinguish themselves as leaders clearly are in leadership roles. What it's done is share experience, expertise, provoke discussion, certainly amongst the small team of us who were preparing for this conference. But in particular, it's told us what more we need to do and reassured us that the more we need to do, we can actually do. There is a clear pathway to achieve it. And what we need to do, seems to me, is ensure that all victims of domestic sexual violence and survivors receive the appropriate support and services at the right time, so when they need it, and which are best suited to their individual needs. The objective clearly must be to eradicate domestic and sexual abuse, but until that's achieved, we have to ensure that victims are empowered to move from hurt to hope, and we've heard people who know how to help people move from hurt to hope as quickly and painlessly as possible. We also heard it's not just victims of abuse who suffer, there are ripples throughout society. So family, friends, colleagues, all feel an impact, as does wider society. And so for so long as domestic and sexual abuse continues, society will continue to be demeaned by it and weakened by it. We'll continue to lose valuable members, and we heard the names of some of those we've already lost. And survivors will continue to suffer alone, and we'll be deprived of the enormous contribution they would otherwise make. And just imagine for a moment some of the women and the teenagers we heard from, imagine if they hadn't been helped to reach the stage they've now reached. We would lose all of that potential. We've also learned some very salutary lessons about the context and history of Northern Ireland and its particularities. And it means we have to open up the debate and acknowledge the additional challenges perhaps, but not overestimate them. I think sometimes we overestimate how different Northern Ireland is and how different a response needs to be. But we do need to be honest about them and tailor our response accordingly. But I think one of the things that stood out most for me was something Alana said. She used 3 simple words, and it's not about law, policy, or anything else. She said compassion, understanding, and respect. And that's got to run through every single thing we do in the writing of policy and the conducting of court hearings, representing, giving advice. So those are the 3 words we always need to bear in mind, I think. I was also particularly struck by something Chan said, which I think, in a way, sums up what we're all here to do. What he said was, and I think I hope I'm not summarising it incorrectly, see the way things are and imagine how they could be. And that means listening to and really hearing victims and survivors, and listening to what they can teach us, and then acting on that. And it's beyond doubt, I think the other very clear message is that the experience in the US has proved that family justice centres work. They work for everybody involved in them. And the question shouldn't be, why a family justice centre? The question should be, how many of them do we need in Northern Ireland, and how do we go about delivering them? And I don't believe anyone, honestly listening to what we've heard for the last 2 days, could seriously challenge that. They will benefit everyone. They'll benefit the victims, the survivors, the economy, wider society, and the justice system. And if the various parts of the justice system really are committed to eradicating domestic and sexual abuse, and they say they are, and delivering for victims and survivors, they must be, and I imagine they are, queuing up to be part of this. And they should already be thinking about how we roll this out across Northern Ireland, because this is the solution to all of their so-called problems. What we also learned is it's the people who really make the difference, starting with the right leader. Now, this is going to sound very sycophantic, but we have the right leader already. You're very fortunate. That leader is Mary Brown, who sits quietly giving the credit to everybody else usually, and I'm not going to let her for the rest of the afternoon. But I think what we have to do to support Mary, and I, reflecting on what Monica McWilliams said, you must deliver what you promise. And that's exactly what Mary, through her strong leadership and choosing the right team and working closely with the right team, that's exactly what she's doing. This is happening. This Justice Centre is happening. And I've heard people talk about maybe when, what. This is happening. She has already achieved it. So we're just looking at the bricks and mortar really being accessible and for getting the right people into the building. I suppose what I want to do is bring the conference. I will bring my part to a close, and I will hand you over to Mary for some reflections on the future. Before you leave, because you'll be going out the door before I get a chance to say any more of this, fill in your evaluation forms. I promised Katrina I would do that. But can I also, more importantly, encourage everyone to keep in touch with each other? Networks have been opened up over the last 2 days, and they will prove really fruitful, I think. And remember what Casey and Gail both said about, I think the expression was, the power of we. What I've found about that is, another way of saying that is just do what Mary Brown tells you to do. That's all I've ever done. That's all I've ever done, and it's just not steered me far wrong. So can I say on behalf of everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure to have everyone here, to meet everybody, certainly everyone I've met and spoken to. I've learnt an enormous amount from, and I'll be mulling over as I drive back to Belfast. But I should also thank both for a very successful event and also the lead up to this, Foyle Women's Aid, and that hugely impressive team of women, and John, if John's still here, Ulster University for hosting it, Derry Strabane District Council, all of our speakers, every single one of them was worth listening to, all of the Foyle Women's Aid staff and volunteers. And I also want to pay a short tribute to the very quiet, I hope she doesn't mind me calling her this, quiet but extremely powerful Julie Allen of Julie Allen Consulting, who's been working very closely and tirelessly on all of this and has, I have to say, kept me right over 2 days. She's been looking after me, not letting me get into trouble. So before I hand over to Mary, can I ask you all to give a really big final round of applause to all our speakers, everyone who's put this together, and particularly to Mary.
Thank you, everybody. It has been wonderful, but it has been 2 long days, and there's a lot that we've discussed. As Alyson said, this project, it was very purposely all organised and funded before we were bringing people, because I'm a big believer as don't create hope where there is none. Get everything in place, and then we bring the project, because too often in Northern Ireland we sit around tables and discuss things and nothing gets done. I have had a lot of support in terms of our team, have been amazing. They made running a conference look easy. They don't do this. Half of the team have been here, and the other half have been off dealing with those women who are coming in our doors, who are ringing our telephone lines. So they have done an amazing job. So, I'm particularly proud of them. And they are just dying to get into the Family Justice Centre. And they all have ideas about, how we can improve the service, and we will. So the Justice Centre is timed now. We're in for planning permission. I don't know if we got anybody from the council. If not, Judge Michael Holm, you and I might have to go down and see John Kelpie again to make sure that they move with it. The planning permission is in. Our plans are to have planning permission by December and to have the finished product by December 2020. They told me it can be built in a year, and I want it 2020 because I don't want it to be 2021. We may not move in until 2021, but we'll certainly have handover. And this is really where the work begins. Julie has been with us, and it's bad when a consultant becomes like your own staff, and that she's answering up about women's voices and things. If I've forgotten something, it's not bad. It's incredible support to me. And Alyson has always been incredible support. She wrote all the brilliant documents for all the brilliant documents on the criminal justice when she was human rights advisor to the policing board, and we got movement there that we wouldn't have had we not had somebody so informed. So there's lots of champions in this room. I'll have to mention one main champion that's looking exhausted and has been in and out of court, but Judge Michael Home has been a huge champion in terms of that, and others in the agencies, Geraldine O'Hare sitting here, Deirdre Mahon, and a range of other people who are so enthusiastic and keen to work with us and move forward. It's just, we've been working at it so long that it nearly feels as if it's not real, but it is real. So we will be starting to put information up on the websites. We will be looking at the photographing the developments of it. I've been delighted for somebody to say, I want to come, I have skills that I can help, I want to get involved. So I've had a few of those conversations today. So just totally delighted, because this Justice Centre is going to belong to this city for everybody. And that's what we have to keep in mind. It's for everybody that needs help. It's not our centre, it's everybody's centre, and we need to take ownership of it. Thank you.